The year is 2042. The hearing room is cold, mahogany and muted light. Mark Bishop feels the chill. He is the Executive Vice President for North American Strategy at AgriFuture, a title that feels heavy today. He smooths his tie. He looks at the report in front of him, a projection of market share erosion, 5% in the last fiscal year, 10% projected for the next. The numbers are from the Midwest, the Corn Belt, his territory once upon a time. He turns the page, a case study on the primary driver of the erosion, a farmers' cooperative, an independent network. It has a simple name, the Jenkins Independent Farmers Co-op. He reads the analysis: lower debt loads, higher net profits per acre, a shared equipment model based on what they call mechanical sovereignty. Their operating costs are 38% lower, 38%. The number feels impossible. He looks at the appendix, a biography of the founder, a woman named Sarah Jenkins. The report includes a photo. A woman in her early 40s. Her face is weathered by the sun. Her hands look strong. She is standing in front of an old barn. Behind her, a dozen farmers, smiling. Mark Bishop stops. He feels something he can't quite name, a ghost of a memory. He reads her name again, Sarah Jenkins, and he remembers a different girl, 20 years ago, a young woman standing alone in a dusty farmyard, her father just buried, her eyes filled with a quiet panic. He remembers the kindness in his own voice, the genuine concern. He remembers telling her she couldn't make it alone. He remembers selling her a solution, a beautiful, green, data-driven machine, a machine she couldn't possibly afford, a machine she couldn't possibly fix. He remembers telling her, with all the certainty of a man who knows, that this was the only way she would survive. He was wrong. This is the story of how wrong he was. And this is the channel that tells those stories. The stories of people who were told they couldn't, and then did. The stories the spreadsheets never show you. The ones written in grease and sweat and soil. If you believe these stories matter, subscribe to this channel. Because what happened in that field 20 years ago changed more than just one harvest. It started a quiet revolution. Let me take you back to the beginning of the end of things and the start of something new. The year is 2024, March. The ground is still hard. Sarah Jenkins stands in the yard of her family's farm. The farm is 640 acres, passed down from her grandfather, to her father, and now to her. Her father, Daniel, died 2 months ago. A heart that worked too hard for 60 years. He left her the land. He left her the old farmhouse. He left her a John Deere 9600 combine from 1989. And he left her the debt. $175,000. An operating loan her father took out for last year's planting. The bank was kind. The banker, Mr. Henderson, knew her father for 30 years. He gave her an extension. But the note was still due. The harvest had to come in. It had to be a good harvest. There was no room for error, no room for a breakdown. The old 9600 combine was a problem. Her father could make it sing. He knew every belt, every gear. He had a sixth sense for its moods. Sarah did not. She knew the basics, but she wasn't a mechanic. Not like him. That's when Mark Bishop first came to the farm. He drove a clean white pickup truck with the AgriFuture logo on the door. He was young, maybe 30. He had a kind smile and an honest handshake. He didn't try to sell her anything at first. He just talked. He asked about her father. He said he was sorry for her loss. He said Daniel Jenkins was a respected man, a pillar of the community. Mark was on the school board. He coached Little League. He was a good man, a certain man. He walked with her to the machine shed. He looked at the old 9600. He ran a hand over the faded green paint. He was gentle. He said, "Daniel was a genius with these old machines, a real artist. But this machine, Sarah, its time is past. It's a risk, a big one. You can't afford a breakdown in October. Not this year." She knew he was right. The thought of it kept her awake at night. He showed her a brochure, the AgriFuture AF 9000. It gleamed on the page. It had GPS-guided steering, yield monitors that were accurate to the kernel. It could practically drive itself. It was a technological marvel. It was also $700,000. Sarah laughed, a short, bitter sound. "I can't afford that, Mark. You know I can't." He smiled his kind smile. "That's the beauty of our new program," he said, "the AgriFuture Partnership Program. You don't buy it, you lease it. And you don't pay for the machine, you pay for the service. It's a subscription, like your phone." He explained the terms: a 5-year lease, an annual software and data subscription fee of $20,000. All maintenance was included. All updates were pushed remotely. The machine was always optimized, always running at peak efficiency. He said, "We take on the risk, Sarah. We're your partner. We're invested in your success." "It sounds too good to be true," she said. He nodded. "I know, but this is the future of farming. We can't have young farmers like you failing. The industry needs you. We're here to make sure you succeed." He wasn't being cruel. He wasn't being deceptive. He genuinely believed what he was saying. He saw a young woman, alone and grieving. He saw someone who needed protecting. His certainty was a warm blanket. It felt safe. She signed the papers the next day. The old 9600 was hauled away for scrap. 2 weeks later, the AF 9000 was delivered. It was enormous. It hummed with a quiet power. It felt like hope. It felt like a mistake. She couldn't shake the feeling. Her father's voice, a low rumble in her memory. "Don't ever buy something you can't fix with your own 2 hands. Don't ever owe a man your harvest." She pushed the voice down. Her father was gone. His world was gone. This was the new world. The world of partners and subscriptions. The world of remote support. She had to trust it. She had no other choice. The planting season was smooth. The new machine was everything Mark promised. The GPS steering was perfect. The seed placement was exact. The summer was kind. Good rain, plenty of sun. The corn grew tall and strong. It looked like a record crop, enough to pay the bank, enough to pay AgriFuture, enough to breathe. But farming is never that simple. In August, the grain prices fell. A trade dispute overseas, a bumper crop in South America. The reasons didn't matter. The price per bushel dropped 30% in 2 weeks. Suddenly, the numbers didn't work. The profit margin vanished. It was replaced by a familiar cold dread. Sarah called the bank. Mr. Henderson was sympathetic, but he couldn't offer another extension. The first payment for the combine lease was due October 1st, $20,000. She had $7,000 in her account. She called Mark Bishop. His voice was still kind, still full of concern. He listened patiently. He said he understood. He said he would see what he could do. He called back the next day. "I'm sorry, Sarah. Corporate policy is very strict on this. The payment is part of the data license. Without the license, the machine can't operate. It's a legal issue, an insurance issue. My hands are tied. But I'm behind on the payment, not refusing to pay. Can't you just give me until after the harvest? 2 weeks. That's all I need." There was a pause. He sounded genuinely regretful. "I can't," he said. "The system is automated. On October 2nd, If the payment isn't received, the license is suspended. The machine is deactivated. Remotely. What does that mean? Deactivated. It means it won't start. It won't even turn on. It's a brick. Until the payment is made. I'm truly sorry. This policy is in place to protect the technology, to protect our investment, to protect all the other farmers in the program. It was the same tone he used when he sold her the machine. The tone of a man protecting her from herself. A man who was certain. A man who was kind. Have you ever been told you couldn't do something by someone who thought they were protecting you? Have you ever felt the quiet rage that comes not from cruelty, but from kindness? From the certainty of others about your limits? Drop a comment below and tell us that story. Because this is where Sarah's story turns. This is where she stopped listening to the voices of the new world and started listening for the ghost of the old one. The harvest began on October 5th. She had scraped together enough money to make a partial payment, $10,000. It bought her a little time. AgriFutures sent her a formal notice. The remaining balance was due in 7 days, or the machine would be deactivated. The week was a blur of dust and diesel fumes. She ran the combine 18 hours a day, sleeping in 4-hour shifts, living on coffee and adrenaline. The yield was good, just as she'd hoped. The corn poured into the grain trucks, golden and heavy. She was halfway done. Another 3 days, maybe 4. She would make it. She had to make it. On the morning of the 5th day, she climbed into the cab. The sun was just rising. She turned the key. Nothing. The dashboard was dark. The engine was silent. A single red light blinked on the console. License expired. Contact dealer. They had done it. They had killed her combine. In the middle of her field. With a storm front moving in from the west. She called Mark. He answered on the second ring. His voice was somber. Sarah, I saw the alert. I am so sorry. You said I had 7 days. The partial payment extended it, but the system prorated it. The grace period ended at midnight. I tried to get an override. I really did. But it's out of my hands. Just make the payment, and we can have you up and running in an hour. I don't have it, Mark. I'll have it when I sell the grain. I can't sell the grain until I harvest it. Can't you see that? I see that you're in a tough spot, he said. His voice was a soft pillow of pity. I wish there was something I could do. He hung up. She sat in the silent cab for a long time. The sun climbed higher. The air grew thick and heavy. The coming storm. She felt a despair so deep it was bottomless. Her father's farm, her legacy, gone. Defeated by a line of code sent from a server 1,000 miles away. She walked back to the farmhouse. The place felt empty, hollow. She went into her father's office, a small room off the kitchen. It smelled of him, old paper and pipe tobacco. She ran her hand over his desk. She opened the bottom drawer. It was filled with old ledgers, years of harvests, columns of numbers written in his careful, steady hand. She pulled one out, the last one, from the year before he died. She opened it. His familiar handwriting. Seed costs, fertilizer tonnage, fuel expenses, and notes. He always made notes in the margins. Talked to Henderson about refinancing in the spring. East Field needs more lime. That new AgriFuture salesman stopped by again. Slicker than a wet snake. Doesn't trust a man to own what he buys. She smiled through her tears. She could hear his voice. She turned the page. And then she saw it. Tucked into the back of the ledger, a single, folded sheet of yellow legal paper, stained with grease, At the top, in her father's block letters, AF 9000, telemetry override. Her heart stopped. He had been studying it, the new machine, the one he told her not to trust. He must have gotten the service manuals, talked to a mechanic. He had been trying to understand his enemy. The paper was covered in diagrams, schematics, hand-drawn arrows and notes, and at the bottom, a list of steps, a sequence, a procedure. It looked like madness, but the handwriting was his, calm, certain. Underneath the final step, he had written a single sentence. The dirt is enough. Don't let them own what you own. The dirt is enough. It was his mantra, his creed. What he meant was, everything you need comes from the soil, from your own work, your own hands. Dependency was a cage, and her father had just left her the key. Night fell. The wind picked up. The storm was coming. Sarah walked out to the silent combine, a metal giant sleeping in her field. She carried a toolbox and a flashlight, and the yellow piece of paper. Her hands were shaking, not from fear, from something else, a cold, clear anger. She followed her father's instructions. Step 1. Open side access panel 7B. Use a T30 Torx driver. The bolts were tight. She put her weight into it. The panel popped open. A nest of wires. A complex brain of circuits and processors. Step 2. Locate the primary telemetry module. It will have a green sticker. She found it. A small black box humming faintly. Step 3. Isolate the wire harness. Pin 4. A green wire with a white stripe. This is the satellite link. The kill switch. Cut it. She took a pair of wire cutters from the box. The metal was cold in her hand. She hesitated. This was a $700,000 machine. She was about to perform surgery without a license. She thought of Mark Bishop's kind, certain voice. I wish there was something I could do. She cut the wire. The faint humming from the black box stopped. Step 4. This is the important part. The system will register a fault. It will try to reboot. You have to ground the logic board before it does. He had drawn a diagram, a specific pin on the main processor. Connect a grounding wire from this pin to the chassis. She had the wire ready, an alligator clip on each end. She found the pin. It was tiny. Her hands were clumsy with cold. She clipped the wire on, attached the other end to a bolt on the frame. A small spark, the smell of ozone. Step 5. Inside the cab, under the steering column, there is a panel of circuit breakers. They are not labeled. They must be flipped in sequence. He had drawn the sequence. Down, up, down. Like a combination lock. She climbed into the cab, found the panel, flipped the breakers. 1, 2, 3, 4. Nothing happened. Her heart sank. It was a crazy idea, the ramblings of an old man who didn't understand the new world. She slumped in the seat, defeated. And then she remembered the last line of his instructions. Step 6. Wait 60 seconds, then turn the key, and pray to whoever you pray to. She looked at her watch, the longest minute of her life. The wind howled outside. The first drops of rain hit the windshield. 60 seconds. She took a deep breath. She put the key in the ignition. She turned it. The dashboard flickered. It went through a diagnostic check. Error codes flashed across the screen. Telemetry signal lost. GPS module unresponsive. Data license invalid. And then they vanished. The engine turned over. Once. Twice. It coughed to life. a deep, guttural roar that shook the entire machine. The headlights cut through the darkness. The combine was alive. Her combine. She started to laugh, and then she started to cry. Tears of grief and rage and triumph. She put the machine in gear and drove into the storm to bring in her harvest. The rain came down hard, but the harvest continued all night, all the next day. She didn't stop. News travels fast in a small town. The sight of the AF9000 running in the storm was a mystery. At the Co-op Cafe, the talk started. Old Man Hemlock, who farmed the land west of the Jenkins place, heard the rumors. He drove out to see for himself. He saw the lights of the combine moving steadily through the corn. He saw the grain truck being filled. He knew Sarah didn't have the money to pay AgriFuture. He was a man of her father's generation. He understood. He went home. He woke up his two sons. He said, "Get the grain wagon. We're going to help Sarah Jenkins." His oldest son asked why. Hemlock just said, "Her father would have done it for us." They showed up at dawn. 2 more trucks. 3 more sets of hands. Sarah saw them coming, and her eyes filled with tears. Hemlock just tipped his hat. "No time for talking," he said. "Let's get this done." The community split. Some saw what she did as theft. She was breaking a contract. She was a cheat. At the feed store, a younger farmer, one with his own AgriFuture lease, confronted Hemlock. "She's stealing that service. It's not right. It'll make it harder for the rest of us." Hemlock just looked at him. The boy's father locked her out of her own machine in the middle of a storm. There's what's legal, and then there's what's right. They ain't always the same thing. The story spread. An email went out from the regional AgriFuture office, a warning. Any farmer found to be tampering with the proprietary software would have their lease terminated immediately and be subject to legal action. It was a threat, but for some, it sounded like a challenge. The harvest was finished in 2 more days. The last truck was loaded just as the sun set. Sarah stood with Hemlock and his sons, covered in dust and grime, exhausted, victorious. She sold the grain. She paid the bank. She paid the remaining balance on the AgriFuture lease. Cash. Then she called Mark Bishop. "I've made the payment," she said. "You can turn my machine back on now." There was a long silence on the line. He knew. Of course he knew. The machine's internal logs would have shown everything. The fault codes, the manual override. He cleared his throat. "Sarah, we need to talk about the unauthorized modifications. You violated the terms of your lease." She interrupted him. Her voice was quiet, calm. "No, Mark. I finished my harvest. With the machine I pay for. On the land my father left me. You can send a truck to come and get it tomorrow. The lease is terminated. By me." She hung up the phone. She looked at the yellow piece of paper on her kitchen table. The dirt is enough. She was beginning to understand what her father meant. It wasn't just about the soil. It was about the foundation. About standing on something that nobody could take away from you. Something you owned. And that's where the story could have ended. A small victory. A personal triumph. But that's not the end of the story. Because this is where the story becomes bigger. This is where one woman's fight for her own harvest becomes a fight for everyone's. Let me tell you about the next 10 years. By 2025, the AF9000 was gone. AgriFuture took it back. They sent her a bill for recertification and damages, $10,000. She threw it in the trash. She took the money from the harvest, and she bought her old combine back, the John Deere 9600. The scrap dealer had never gotten around to crushing it. It was sitting in his back lot, rusting. She paid him $5,000 for it, cash. She and Old Man Hemlock spent the winter rebuilding it. They tore the engine down, replaced the belts, rewired the hydraulics. Her father's workshop came alive again, the smell of grease and hot metal. She learned the machine, every bolt, every secret. By spring, it ran better than it had in years. In 2026, Hemlock's son, Billy, had a problem. His new tractor, from a different company but with the same kind of system, had a sensor failure. The tractor went into limp mode. It wouldn't go faster than 2 miles an hour. The dealer said it would be 2 weeks before a technician could come out. The repair would cost $5,000. Billy was supposed to be planting. He mentioned it to Sarah. She came over with her laptop and a set of tools. She found the faulty sensor. It was a simple pressure switch, a $50 part, but it was digitally locked to the tractor's computer. You couldn't just replace it. The computer had to be reprogrammed by a certified dealer. Sarah remembered her father's notes, his obsession with these systems. She found a way around it, a simple bypass. It took her 2 hours. The tractor roared back to life. Billy tried to pay her. She refused. "Just help the next guy," she said. Word got around. A whisper network. A farmer with a lockdown machine would hear about the Jenkins girl, the one who could fix things. She never charged a dime. Her price was simple. You have to learn how to do it yourself. She would teach them, show them the bypass, explain the logic. She was giving away the key. By 2028, her barn was a classroom. On winter nights, a half-dozen farmers would be huddled around an engine block, learning, sharing knowledge, the old way. That year, she bought the 80 acres to the north of her. The owner was retiring. He sold it to her for a fair price, cash. Mark Bishop, now a regional manager, heard about it. He heard about the ghost mechanic who was costing his service department thousands. He thought it was a nuisance, a small-time problem. He was a man looking at a map. He couldn't see the ground. He couldn't see the roots that were starting to grow. The drumbeat got louder. The years stacked up like cordwood, 20, 30. The Jenkins Independent Farmers Co-op was officially formed, 12 families, including the Hemlocks. Their charter was written on a single page. It had 3 principles. 1. We own what we own. No leases on primary equipment. 2. We share our knowledge. All repairs and modifications are open source. 3. We help our neighbors. No exceptions. They pooled their money. They bought an old, bankrupt grain elevator. Cash. Now they could store their own grain. Sell it when the price was right. They were free from the tyranny of the market. 2032. The co-op had grown to 30 families. They started buying equipment together, older machines, pre-digital. They rebuilt them, improved them. They fabricated their own parts. Their yields were just as good as their high-tech neighbors, but their costs were a fraction. Contrast math tells the story. The average agri-future farmer in the county had input costs of $400 per acre. The Jenkins Co-op average was $250. That $150 difference was survival. It was profit. It was freedom. 2034. Mark Bishop is now the vice president of sales. He's at a conference in Chicago. An industry analyst is giving a presentation. A slide comes up. Anomalous Profitability Zone, a case study in central Iowa. It's a map of their county, a bright green island of high profit in a sea of red. The analyst points to the Jenkins Co-op. He talks about their disruptive, closed-loop economic model. He talks about their resistance to data integration platforms. Mark feels a cold knot in his stomach. He recognizes the name. He remembers the girl in the dusty yard, the phone call in the rain. He had offered her a partnership. She had built a kingdom instead. The year is 2042. The right to repair movement is a national debate. Legislation is being proposed in Washington. Farmers are at the center of it. AgriFuture and other companies are lobbying hard against it. They call it a threat to intellectual property, a safety risk, a disaster for innovation. Mark Bishop is their point man, their public face. He has to go out and meet with the farmers who oppose him. He has to try and win them over. His tour takes him to Iowa, to a meeting at a co-op headquarters, the Jenkins Independent Farmers Co-op. He drives down the gravel road. He expects a sterile corporate office. He finds a sprawling complex of machine sheds and workshops. The air smells of welding and clean soil. He is told Sarah Jenkins will meet him in the main workshop. He walks in. The place is buzzing with activity. Young men and women are working on a dozen different machines. He sees Sarah across the room. She is standing over a complex piece of hydraulic machinery. She's older now. Her hair has some gray in it, but her eyes are the same, clear and steady. She holds a wrench in her hand. She wears grease-stained coveralls. She doesn't offer to shake his hand. She just wipes her own on a rag. "Mark Bishop," she says. "It's been a long time." He tries his corporate smile. It feels fake, even to him. "Sarah, thank you for meeting with me. You've built something impressive here." She doesn't respond. She just waits. He launches into his speech, the one he has given 100 times, about partnership, about the complexities of modern machinery, about protecting innovation, about how AgriFuture is on the farmer's side. He talks for 10 minutes. She listens patiently, never interrupting. When he is finished, the workshop has gone quiet. Everyone is watching them. She finally speaks. Her voice is not angry. It is quiet, devastatingly simple. "We're not against innovation, Mark. We're against dependency. You say you're a partner, but a partner doesn't leave you stranded in a field in a storm. A partner doesn't hold your livelihood hostage." He starts to respond, to talk about policy. She holds up a hand. She walks over to a workbench. She picks up an old, worn ledger. She opens it to a specific page. A yellowed, folded piece of paper is tucked inside. She takes it out and holds it up for him to see. "My father wrote this," she says. "He didn't trust a world where a man couldn't fix what he owned. He believed in his own hands. He believed the dirt was enough." Mark looks at the paper. He sees the hand-drawn schematics, the title, AF 9000 Telemetry Overraid. He feels the foundations of his certainty crack. The well-meaning kindness he had shown her all those years ago, he sees it for what it was. A cage. A beautifully designed, well-intentioned cage. Sarah's voice is soft. "You don't sell machines, Mark. You sell control. My father taught me how to take it back, and I've been teaching everyone else ever since." He has nothing to say. The quiet in the workshop is his answer. He turns and walks away. A man who had been certain, who just learned he was wrong about everything. The legacy of a person is not what they build for themselves, it's what they build for others. The Jenkins Co-op now covers 3 states, over 500 families. They are a force in the agricultural world, a testament to independence. In 2038, they established the Daniel Jenkins Memorial Scholarship. It sends 2 students from rural communities to technical college every year to study mechanical and electrical engineering. The scholarship is paid for in full, cash. The recipients are not required to come back and work for the co-op. Most of them do. The co-op developed its own open-source diagnostic software for dozens of different equipment brands. They give it away for free to any farmer who asks for it. Their motto is simple: own what you own. Sarah Jenkins never ran for office. She never wrote a book. She never became a famous activist. She stayed on her farm. She kept her hands dirty. She mentored the next generation. She taught them how to read schematics, how to weld a clean bead, how to trust their own minds and their own hands. She passed on her father's knowledge, the generational echo. Proving someone wrong takes decades, not moments. It is a quiet, patient work, the work of planting a seed and tending the soil and waiting for the harvest. Today, in the main office of the Jenkins Co-op, there is a simple glass case. It's not in a fancy lobby. It's in the break room, next to the coffee machine. Inside the case is an old farm ledger. It is open to a single, grease-stained page. A young woman stands in front of it. She is one of this year's scholarship recipients. Her name is Maria. She is studying to be an engineer. She looks at the hand-drawn diagrams, the careful block letters of a man she never met. Sarah Jenkins, now in her 60s, comes and stands beside her. She looks at the ledger, her father's legacy. Maria touches the glass. "He must have been a smart man," she says. Sarah smiles, a slow, warm smile. "He was a farmer," she says. "He believed the dirt was enough." The story of Sarah Jenkins is not just about a combine in a field. It is about a fundamental question. Who is in control? The person who buys the tool or the person who sells it? Right now, somewhere in the world, someone is being told they can't. They are being told their limits by someone who is certain, by someone who might even be kind. They are being offered a solution that is actually a cage. This story is for them. It is a reminder that the most powerful tools we have are our own hands, our own minds, and the courage to break the rules when the rules are wrong. If this story means something to you, subscribe to this channel. Comment below with a time you had to find your own override, and share this video with someone who needs to be reminded of their own power, someone who needs to remember, the dirt is enough.